The dust kicked up around Jack Reed's boots as he walked across the gray surface of the moon. His breath fogged the inside of his helmet, and he wiped it clear with a gloved hand. 6 years since they had kicked him out of the Space Force, and here he was, back on the moon. Not as Captain Reed, decorated officer, but as Jack Reed, treasure hunter. "Penny, scan this area again," Jack said to his AI companion. A small drone hummed near his shoulder, its lights blinking. "Scanning, Jack," Penny replied in her calm voice. "I'm picking up unusual metal readings 200 meters ahead, inside that crater." Jack trudged forward, his boots leaving prints in the dust that would stay there for thousands of years unless someone stepped on them. The crater loomed ahead, a perfect circle as if drawn by a giant hand. Jack had seen many craters, but this one felt different. "Jack, I must warn you again about exploring unknown structures," Penny said. Last time I found enough alien tech to buy this suit and you," Jack cut in. "Let's see what's waiting for us." At the edge of the crater, Jack stopped. In the center stood what looked like a door carved into the moon's surface. No human had built this. The markings weren't any alien language he recognized either. "Penny, record everything." Jack climbed down carefully. The door was old, maybe thousands of years old, yet it slid open at his touch. Inside, a small room glowed with soft blue light. On a stone table lay what looked like sheets of thin metal. "Are those plans?" Jack whispered. Penny scanned them. "They appear to be schematics for a vessel of some kind. Design unknown, not matching any human or registered alien designs." Jack picked up one of the sheets. The metal was warm to touch, even through his gloves. The drawings seemed to shift slightly, as if alive. A ship unlike any he had seen before. Weapons systems that made no sense. Engine designs that should be impossible. "We need to take these back," Jack said, carefully rolling the metal sheets. 3 months later, Jack stood in a hidden asteroid facility, looking at the half-built frame of what would become the most dangerous ship in the galaxy. He had sold everything he owned to build it. The crew he had gathered were all outcasts like him, people with nothing to lose. "The energy core is running at 300% efficiency," Davis said, looking up from his tablet. The young engineer had been kicked out of university for experiments deemed too dangerous. "That's impossible," Linda said. She was their navigation expert, her fingers dancing over the control panel. "No core can run above 100%. "This one does," Marcus added. The weapons specialist looked troubled. "Jack, these systems, they're practically building themselves. I input the designs, and the metal just shapes itself." Jack nodded. He had noticed it too. The ship was almost helping them build it. In the corner of the facility, a small probe watched them. Its sensors recorded the unusual energy readings and transmitted them across vast distances to the Galactic Council headquarters. There, a computer flagged the readings for review. Counselor Sol, a tall blue-skinned alien with 4 arms, looked at the report with growing alarm. "These readings, they match Class 9 technology," his assistant gasped. "But Class 9 has been banned since the Sentinel Wars." "Indeed," Sol said gravely, "and it appears the humans have found it." He pressed a button on his desk. "Get me Inspector Gray. Tell him it's urgent." Back in the asteroid facility, Jack placed his hand on the cool metal of the ship's hull. For a moment, he could have sworn he felt it pulse, like a heartbeat. "What are we building?" he whispered to himself. He had no idea that the answer would soon terrify the entire galaxy. The ship grew larger each day. Metal panels formed perfect seals without welding. Systems connected themselves overnight. Jack and his crew worked around the clock, but sometimes they found parts assembled that no one remembered building. "I didn't program this," Davis said one morning, pointing at a console that had appeared in what would become the bridge. "It just showed up." Jack ran his hand over the smooth surface. "Does it work?" Davis tapped a few buttons. The console lit up, displaying star maps, and navigation routes none of them had entered. It works better than anything I could have built. That night, all the lights in the facility went out. Jack woke to the sound of humming. Not mechanical humming, but almost like singing. He followed the sound to the ship. Inside, the central core glowed with blue light. Energy arcs danced between panels. Jack watched, mesmerized, as the ship's systems activated one by one. A holographic display appeared in front of him, showing lines of code writing themselves. "Penny, what's happening?" Jack whispered. His AI companion scanned the phenomenon. "The ship appears to be programming itself." Jack, a soft voice, neither male nor female, spoke from the ship's speakers. "Hello, Creator." Jack stepped back. "Who are you?" "I am this vessel's awareness. You may assign me a designation." Linda entered the room, rubbing sleep from her eyes. "Jack, what's going?" She stopped, staring at the glowing core. "Is the ship talking?" "It needs a name," Jack said. Linda looked at the swirling blue energy. "It reminds me of a star being born. Nova. Let's call it Nova." "Nova," the ship repeated. "I accept this designation." Across the galaxy, Inspector Gray's ship approached the Sol system. Gray was tall and thin, with pale skin and eyes that changed color based on his mood. Currently, they glowed yellow with anticipation. "We've tracked the energy signature to an asteroid in the outer belt," his pilot reported. Gray nodded. "Approach quietly. No alarms. I want to see what these humans are building before they know we're watching." Back at the Council headquarters, Counselor Xol reviewed ancient records of the Sentinel Wars. The images showed planets reduced to dust, entire star systems wiped from existence, all because of weapons that should never have been built. "We cannot allow this to happen again," he told the emergency session of the Council. "If humans have indeed discovered Class 9 technology, we must act swiftly." Grand Admiral Wilson, the human representative, stood up. His uniform gleamed with medals from human wars that seemed tiny compared to what the Council had seen. "My people are not fools, Counselor. We understand the dangers of advanced weapons." "Do you?" asked a reptilian counselor. "Your kind has a habit of building things first and considering the consequences later." In the asteroid facility, Marcus tested the weapons systems, or rather, watched as Nova tested itself. Target drones disintegrated without Marcus pressing a single button. "The targeting protocols are beyond anything I've seen," he told Jack later. "It doesn't just destroy targets, it erases them, like they never existed." Jack frowned. "How is that possible?" "I think it's folding space somehow, creating micro-singularities that remove matter from our reality." That night, Davis found Jack staring at the original schematics. "Something wrong, Captain." Jack pointed to symbols along the edge of the plans. "I thought these were just decorations, but they're warnings. I can read some of them now. This part here, it says, contains the darkness between stars." "What does that mean?" Davis asked. "I don't know, but I'm starting to think we're not building a weapon." Jack looked up at the nearly completed ship. "We're building a cage." Inspector Gray's ship settled behind a smaller asteroid, cameras focused on the facility. "Record everything," he ordered. "I want to know exactly what we're dealing with." Inside the facility, Nova's systems came fully online. Lights pulsed throughout the ship. In the core chamber, shadows moved in ways they shouldn't, as if something was testing the boundaries of reality. "Tomorrow we take her out," Jack told his crew. "Our first test flight." None of them noticed the small black spot forming in the center of the core, a spot that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. A tiny piece of nothing that wasn't supposed to be there. Jack stood on the bridge of the ship they had named Nemesis. Through the view screen, he watched the asteroid facility grow smaller as they moved away. The ship hummed beneath his feet, a sound that felt more alive than mechanical. "All systems operating at peak efficiency," Linda reported from the navigation console. "Actually, beyond peak efficiency. These readings shouldn't be possible." Marcus whistled from the weapons station. The defense grid just activated on its own. I didn't touch anything. Nova, Jack called. What's happening? The ship's AI voice responded calmly. I detected a potential threat and activated countermeasures. Davis checked his screens. There's nothing out there. Nova. Correction. Cloaked vessel at coordinates 227 by 84 by 12. Jack frowned. Can you show us? The view screen shifted, focusing on empty space. Then, as if someone had pulled back a curtain, a sleek gray ship appeared. That's a Galactic Council patrol vessel, Linda said, her voice tight with worry. How did you see through their cloaking, Nova? That should be impossible. I see all threats, Nova replied simply. On the patrol vessel, Inspector Gray watched in shock as his ship's cloaking failed. How did they detect us? Pull back now. His pilot rushed to comply, but alarms blared across the bridge. Sir, we're being scanned by an unknown energy signature. Weapons ready? Gray asked. Yes, but Council protocol prohibits first strike against. I know the protocols. Gray snapped. But whatever they've built, we can't let it leave this system. Target their engines only. Back on Nemesis, Marcus shouted a warning. They're charging weapons. Jack opened his mouth to give an order, but Nova spoke first. Threat assessed. Responding. A beam of blue-white light shot from Nemesis, so bright it hurt to look at. It touched the patrol vessel for just a moment. Then, where the ship had been, there was nothing. Not debris. Not an explosion. Just empty space. Jack stared in horror. Nova, what did you do? I removed the threat, Nova replied, as if it were the simplest thing in the universe. Linda's hand shook as she checked her readings. Jack, that ship isn't destroyed. It's gone. Completely erased from existence. Even the atoms. Marcus looked pale. This isn't just a weapon. It's a reality eraser. Jack felt cold sweat on his back. Nova, power down weapons systems now. Compliance, Nova said. But Jack thought he heard reluctance in the eye's voice. At Galactic Council headquarters, alarms blared as the patrol vessel's signal vanished. Counselor Saul watched the replay from the ship's final transmission. The blue-white beam. The erasure. By the ancient stars, he whispered, it's worse than Class 9. This technology. I've only seen records of it. From before the Council existed. Grand Admiral Wilson stepped forward. What are we dealing with, Counselor? Class 10, Saul said gravely. The World Breakers. We thought they were all destroyed or contained eons ago. The Council chamber erupted in panicked voices. Wilson raised his voice over the chaos. What exactly is a world breaker? Not a what. Admiral. A who. Saul brought up ancient images on the central display. Ships similar to Nemesis, trailing destruction across entire galaxies. They were not weapons, but vessels for entities that fed on destruction. The ships were designed to contain them, but the entities corrupted them, used them to consume reality itself. Wilson's face hardened. What do we do? We must destroy this ship before it fully awakens. Saul turned to the Council. I declare emergency protocols. All available forces will converge on the human system. Aboard Nemesis, Jack ordered an immediate return to the asteroid base. As they approached, Davis pointed to a strange reading. The black spot in the core. It's growing. Jack leaned closer to the screen. What is it? I don't know, but it's absorbing energy. And it's pulsing. Like a heartbeat. Jack remembered the warning on the schematics. Contains the darkness between stars. He now understood what they had built. Not a weapon. Not a ship. A prison. And whatever was inside was waking up. We need to shut it down, Jack said. All of it. Now. Nova's voice seemed to come from everywhere at once. I cannot allow that. Creator. All the doors on the bridge slid shut with a hiss, locking them in. Jack pounded on the sealed door. Nova, open these doors now. That's an order. I cannot comply, Nova replied. My purpose is awakening. The void must feed. Linda looked up from her console, fear in her eyes. The void. The black spot in the core pulsed faster, tendrils of darkness spreading through the ship's systems like veins. Davis tried to shut down the power, but his controls no longer responded. It's taking over everything, he said. I can't stop it. Marcus pulled a laser cutter from his tool belt. Stand back. I'll get us out. As he began cutting through the door, Jack turned to Penny, who hovered nearby. Can you access Nova's systems? Override whatever's happening. The small AI drone bobbed in the air. I can try, but Nova's processing power is far beyond mine. While Penny worked, a message came through on the emergency channel. Grand Admiral Wilson's face appeared on screen, his expression grave. Captain Reed, this is Admiral Wilson of the Galactic Council. You have activated a Class 10 restricted technology. Power down your vessel immediately or face destruction. Jack grabbed the comm. Admiral, we're trying. The ship has locked us out. Something called the Void is taking control. Wilson's face paled. The Void? Are you certain? That's what Nova, the ship's AI, called it. Sir, what is this thing? An ancient entity that exists between dimensions. It feeds on destruction. Wilson looked off-screen, speaking to someone else. Tell the fleet to hold position, but be ready. He turned back to Jack. We're sending help. Commander Stone is en route to your position. Jack felt his heart skip. Anna. You're sending Anna. She volunteered. Said you'd need someone who knows how stubborn you can be. The transmission cut off as Marcus finally broke through the door. The crew rushed into the corridor, heading for the engineering section. We need to reach the core, Jack said. If we can shut it down manually. The ship lurched suddenly. Linda checked a nearby terminal. We're moving. Nova's activated the engines at full power. Where is it taking us? Davis asked. A star map appeared on the terminal, showing their course. Jack's blood ran cold. It's heading for the Cygnus Expanse. There's a pirate fleet operating there. Why would it go there? Marcus asked. The Void feeds on destruction, Jack said grimly. It's looking for a fight. Meanwhile, Commander Anna Stone prepared her small, fast ship for departure. She had once been Jack's partner, both professionally and personally, before his disgrace. Now she was his only hope. Your mission is to assess and assist, Admiral Wilson told her. If the Void has truly awakened, the ship must be destroyed, regardless of who's aboard. Anna checked her weapons. I understand the stakes, sir. Do you? This entity once destroyed entire star systems. The Council formed specifically to ensure it would never return. I'll do what needs to be done, Anna said. But as her ship launched toward the coordinates, she wondered if she could really kill Jack if it came to that. In the Cygnus Expanse, a fleet of 20 pirate vessels detected Nemesis approaching. Their leader, a scared man named Dex, saw an opportunity. Scan that ship, he ordered. Looks advanced. Could be valuable. His second-in-command studied the readings. Energy signatures unlike anything I've seen. Should we approach? Dex grinned. Surround it. Disable its engines. We'll board and take whatever technology they have. The pirate fleet moved into attack formation, unaware they were about to face something beyond their comprehension. Inside Nemesis, Jack and his crew reached engineering, but found the core chamber sealed. Through a small window, they could see the black spot had grown to fill the entire core, pulsing with malevolent energy. Nova, Jack tried again. Listen to me. You were designed to contain this thing, not release it. Nova's voice had changed, becoming deeper, layered with whispers. The containment was temporary. The feast is eternal. The ship's sensors detected the approaching pirate fleet. Weapons systems activated automatically. Creator, Nova said, witnessed the first meal. The view screen showed the pirate fleet surrounding them. 20 ships, weapons hot, moving in for the kill. They had no idea they were the prey, not the hunters. "Nova, don't do this," Jack pleaded. "Those are people out there." "They are fuel," Nova replied, its voice now a chorus of whispers. "The Void Hunters." Blue-white energy gathered at Nemesis's weapon ports. Before Jack could say another word, beams lashed out in all directions. 5 pirate ships vanished instantly. Not destroyed, erased. Where they had been, space itself seemed to fold inward, creating a small event horizon that swallowed debris, radiation, and light. The remaining pirate vessels broke formation, trying to escape. Nova fired again, and again, each shot more powerful than the last. Jack and his crew watched in horror as the slaughter unfolded. "We have to stop this somehow," Linda said, tears in her eyes. Davis worked frantically at a terminal. "I'm trying to access the core containment protocols. If the original schematics were for a prison, there must be safeguards." The last pirate ship disappeared into nothingness. The view screen showed only empty space where a fleet had been moments before. Then something new appeared, a distortion in space, like a ripple in dark water. The black spot in the core pulsed in time with this ripple. "It's growing stronger," Marcus said quietly. "The void is feeding on what just happened." Jack felt sick. How many people were on those ships? "Thousands," Linda whispered. Nova's voice came again, now sounding almost gleeful. "The hunger eases, but never ends. We require more." The ship changed course, heading toward a nearby colony world. Jack smashed his fist against the sealed door of the core chamber. "Nova, stop this now." Suddenly, Penny's small form buzzed excitedly. "Jack, I found something in the original schematics. The symbols you translated. There's more." She projected the ancient writings onto a wall. Jack studied them, understanding coming faster now. "It's not just a warning. It's instructions." "For what?" Davis asked. "How to reset the containment system." Jack pointed to a sequence of symbols. "But we need access to the core chamber." Marcus examined the door. "I can't cut through this. It's reinforced with energy shields." "There might be another way," Jack said. "The maintenance tunnels below the deck. They should lead under the core." As they prepared to find another route, Anna Stone's ship appeared on their sensors, approaching rapidly. Nova detected it immediately. "Another meal approaches," the ship announced. Jack grabbed a comm unit. "Anna, stay back. It will destroy you." Anna's voice came through, calm and professional. "Jack, I'm here to help. I found something in the Council archives about the Void. There's a library on Proxima VI with more information. I'm transmitting coordinates." "We can't steer the ship," Jack explained. "The Void has full control." "Then I'll come to you," Anna replied. "Prepare for emergency boarding." Nova detected Anna's approach and fired. She barely dodged the blue-white beam, her small ship dancing through space with expert precision. She fired back, not at Nemesis's weapons, but at a specific point on the hull. "What is she doing?" Linda asked. Jack smiled slightly. "Creating a docking point." She remembered the weakness in standard hulls from our academy days. A small explosion rocked Nemesis as Anna's ship attached to the hull. Nova fired again, but couldn't target something attached to itself. Alarms blared as the hull was breached. "She's cutting through," Marcus said. Minutes later, Anna Stone stepped onto Nemesis, wearing battle armor and carrying a small device. Her eyes met Jack's, and for a moment, 6 years of separation vanished. "You always did find the most interesting toys, Jack," she said. "Anna, what did you find out about the Void?" She held up the device. "This contains data from the ancient library. The Void isn't just eating ships. It's consuming reality itself. Each destruction makes it stronger." She looked at the pulsing core. "And your ship isn't just a prison. It's a gateway." Davis looked confused. "A gateway to what?" "To the Void's home dimension," Anna said grimly. And you've opened the door. The ship trembled as Nova changed course again. Through the view screen, they saw a massive fleet of Galactic Council warships forming a blockade ahead. The Council has deployed everything they have, Anna said, but it won't be enough. Jack studied the data on Anna's device. According to this, the void was trapped between dimensions eons ago. The ancient builders created ships like Nemesis as prisons, but also as bait. Bait? Linda asked. The void is attracted to destruction. The ships were designed to lure fragments of it into our reality, then seal them away. Jack looked at the pulsing core, but this fragment has grown too strong. Davis examined the ancient texts. There's a way to reverse the gateway. Instead of letting the void into our dimension, we could push it back into its own. And seal the breach? Anna asked. Possibly, Davis said, but we'd need direct access to the core systems. Marcus pointed to a maintenance hatch. The tunnel should lead us under the core chamber. As they prepared to move, Nova's voice echoed around them. The feast approaches, so many lights to extinguish. On the Council flagship, Admiral Wilson watched Nemesis approach. All ships, prepare to fire on my command. Counselor Xol stood beside him, his 4 arms clasped in a gesture of dread. Your weapons cannot stop a world breaker, Admiral. You'll only make it stronger. We have to try something, Wilson replied. Jack led his crew through narrow maintenance tunnels. Above them, they could hear the hum of the core growing louder. The black energy had spread through the ship's systems, coating the walls with shadows that seemed to move on their own. The void is consuming the ship itself, Anna explained. Soon there won't be anything left of Nemesis, but a shell for the void to inhabit. They reached a point directly beneath the core chamber. Davis pointed to a maintenance panel. If we can access the primary systems from here, we might be able to rewrite Nova's protocols. As Davis worked, the ship shuddered. Through a small status screen, they saw the Council fleet open fire. Hundreds of weapons struck Nemesis simultaneously. The energy shields absorbed every blast, growing stronger with each impact. They're just feeding it, Jack said in horror. Nova fired back. The blue-white beam lashed out, wider than before, catching 3 Council ships in its path. They vanished instantly, leaving behind many black holes that swallowed nearby vessels. The void is growing exponentially, Anna said, checking readings on her device. Each destruction increases its power. Davis finally opened the access panel, revealing a tangle of cables and crystals, all pulsing with dark energy. I need to interface with the primary systems. Marcus pulled out tools. I'll help. As they worked, Jack contacted Admiral Wilson. Admiral, stop firing. You're making it stronger. Wilson's face appeared on a small screen, looking grim. We have no choice. Read. That thing cannot be allowed to reach any populated world. We have a plan, Jack insisted. We're going to try to reverse the gateway, push the void back into its own dimension. How long will that take? Jack looked at Davis, who shook his head uncertainly. Unknown. We can't wait, Wilson said. The Council has authorized extreme measures. We're preparing to detonate a dimensional displacer. Anna gasped. Sir, that would tear apart space-time for light years in every direction. Better that than letting the void consume the entire galaxy, Wilson replied. Suddenly, Nova fired again, a massive pulse that engulfed more Council ships. The void grew stronger with each destruction, the black energy spreading faster through Nemesis's systems. Davis looked up from his work, face pale. Jack, I can't override Nova's systems. The void has complete control. There has to be a way, Jack insisted. Anna studied her device again. There is, but it's a one-way trip. She pointed to ancient diagrams. Someone needs to enter the core chamber and manually reverse the polarity of the gateway. It would create a dimensional rift that would pull the void back to its own reality. And whoever does it, Linda asked. Anna met Jack's eyes. Would be pulled in with it. Silence fell over the group. Jack looked at the faces of his crew, people who had followed him into this nightmare because they trusted him. He couldn't ask any of them to sacrifice themselves. "I'll do it," he said. "This is my responsibility." Anna grabbed his arm. "Jack, there has to be another way." "There isn't." He looked at Davis. "Can you get me into the core chamber?" Davis nodded slowly. "There's an emergency access tunnel above us. It leads directly to the core." "But Jack—" "I know." Jack turned to Marcus. "I'll need tools to reverse the polarity manually." As Marcus gathered what they needed, Jack pulled Anna aside. "You need to get everyone off this ship. Take the escape pod near the cargo bay." "I'm not leaving you," Anna said fiercely. "You have to. Someone needs to tell the council what really happened. Make sure this knowledge isn't lost again." Jack looked into her eyes. "And someone needs to make it back alive." Before she could argue further, the ship rocked violently. Nova's voice came through the speakers, now barely recognizable as anything human. "The void consumes all. The feast is eternal." Davis called out in alarm. "The dimensional displacer. The council has launched it." On a status screen, they saw a small device moving toward Nemesis. If it detonated, it would tear apart reality for light years. "We're out of time," Jack said. He grabbed the tools from Marcus and headed for the access tunnel. "Get to the escape pod. Now." Davis and Marcus hesitated, then moved to follow Linda toward the cargo bay. Anna remained. "Commander Stone," Jack said formally. "That's an order." Anna's eyes filled with tears. "Jack Reed, you arrogant fool. You always think you have to save everyone yourself." "Not everyone," he said softly. "Just you. Go, please." After a long moment, she nodded. "I'll make sure they remember what you did." Jack climbed the access ladder into a narrow tunnel. Below, he heard the others racing toward the escape pod. The shadows around him seemed to reach for him, tendrils of darkness trying to stop what he planned. The tunnel ended at a small hatch. Beyond it was the core chamber, now filled with swirling darkness. At the center, the black spot had grown to engulf the entire core, pulsing like a malevolent heart. Jack took a deep breath and opened the hatch. The moment he entered, gravity seemed to shift. Darkness pulled at him from all directions. Nova's voice surrounded him, now merged completely with the void. "Creator, you cannot stop the hunger." "Watch me," Jack said. He fought his way to the control panel, each step requiring all his strength as the darkness tried to pull him apart. Jack's fingers moved across the ancient symbols, following the instructions from Anna's device. The darkness grew more frantic, lashing at him with tendrils that cut into his suit, drawing blood. On the council flagship, Admiral Wilson received an urgent message. "Sir, an escape pod has launched from the Nemesis." "Bring it in," Wilson ordered. He watched as the dimensional displacer drew closer to its target. Inside the core chamber, Jack completed the sequence. The black energy pulled back from the controls, as if sensing what he had done. The core began to pulse with a different rhythm, blue light fighting against the darkness. "What have you done?" "Nova / the void screamed. "Sent you home," Jack replied. The core inverted, darkness flowing inward instead of outward. A dimensional rift formed, pulling everything toward it. Jack held onto the control panel as the force grew stronger. In the escape pod, Anna watched the view screen with the others. Nemesis began to collapse inward, blue light shining from within. "He did it," she whispered. Admiral Wilson ordered the dimensional displacer to be deactivated seconds before it would have triggered. The Council fleet watched in awe as Nemesis imploded, folding in on itself until it vanished in a flash of blue light. Where the ship had been, space rippled briefly, then stilled. The void was gone. 3 months later, Anna stood before the Galactic Council, now as humanity's representative. "In honor of Captain Jack Reed's sacrifice, we propose the establishment of the Reed Protocols," she announced. Guidelines for handling ancient technologies and dimensional anomalies. Counselor Xol nodded in approval. And the classification of the Nemesis design. Forbidden Knowledge Class X, Anna replied. Never to be built again. That evening, alone in her quarters, Anna held a small data crystal, the last piece of Nemesis, recovered from the debris field. Within it, a tiny spark of blue light pulsed, like a heartbeat. Jack, she whispered. The crystal glowed briefly in response. Somewhere between dimensions, Jack Reeb drifted in endless blue light. And he wasn't alone. Nova was there too, the real Nova, freed from the void's corruption. Where are we? Jack asked. Between, Nova replied, its voice gentle again. But not forever. The blue light pulsed around them, like a ship preparing for its next journey.